Hey friends, Jeremy back with the next Guitar Better video. In this video, I'm going to be covering the basics of the key of G, common chords in the key of G. We're going to talk a little bit about some chord progressions, but then mainly we're going to go over the common chords in the key of G and then how to play them. Alright, so I have my guitar, and hopefully by this point you will know the basics of what I'm about to talk about. So, first thing that we're going to cover real quick, the bottom string right here, the one furthest away from me is an E, but it's also the first string. So whenever I reference a string number, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, 6 being your bass. From then, now, the key of G, you have the musical alphabet, which is super simple, much easier in my opinion than the regular alphabet for this reason. It goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back to A. So if you look at it, it makes a circle which then loops and creates and connects all of the dots. So, A to G, back to A, it's as simple as that. Now, depending on where you're starting in the alphabet is where you're going to end. So, if we're in the key of G, we're going to start on G and go G to G. So it will be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, back to G. Now, I said F sharp because in the key of G there's one sharp. We'll talk about that later, but for now that's all you need to know. So, well, let's dive right into it. So the first chord in the key of G is going to be a G chord, right? Super simple. Let me grab my pick. Alright, so again, a G chord. Okay, I'm sure you've all seen this before or heard it if you don't know how to play it. Now, you're going to take your third finger. So with fingers, we've got, I should have covered this in another video, hopefully, but your thumb, but then it's your finger 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty simple. So we're going to take our third finger, put it on the third fret, so 1, 2, 3, so the third fret on the 6th string. We're going to take our second finger, and we're going to put it on the second fret, 5th string, and then we're going to take our fourth finger, our pinky, put it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And we're going to play through that. Now, at any point in this video, feel free to pause, go back, and see what I just said, because it can go quickly. Now, there's more than one way to play a G chord, so we're going to look at that again, but with different fingering. This time, we're going to place our second finger on the 3rd fret on the 6th string. Our first finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and then our third finger is going to go on the 1st string, 3rd fret. So this is the exact same as the previous one. We're just using different fingers. Now, when it comes to something like this, just do whatever feels more comfortable for you. I would suggest learning both ways. So one looks like this, and then the other one looks like this. Now, for me, it depends on what I'm going to do next musically. Depends on which one I'm going to do. So that's the G chord. Next chord we're going to look at is a C. So, what we're going to do first is take our third finger, put it on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, okay? Okay, now we're going to take our second finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and we're going to take our first finger and put it on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Sorry. Okay, and then for this one, we're not going to play the 6th string. Remember, the 6th string is your top, your bass, your thickest string. We're not going to play that. We're going to skip right on down to the next one. we're going to strum through all of those. Okay, that's going to be your C chord. Now, we're going to move on to the D, which is your 5 in the key of G. We'll talk about that later as well. So, you're going to play an open D, which is your 4th string. Your first finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of your 3rd string. Your 3rd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of your 2nd string. And the 2nd finger is going to creep underneath here. Let's see if I can show you that a little bit better. So creep underneath here, go on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So it's going to go right underneath that 1st finger, and then the 3rd finger is going to go back on the string. Now this one might feel a little cramped or whatnot, but that's okay. We're just learning, so we'll get the hang of it. So now you're going to play through those just like on the C, except this time we're not going to play the 5th and the 6th string. So you're going to start on your 4, your 4th string, and play down. Now, a tip and a helpful trick when you're playing through a chord and you're first learning it, it can be very easy to just strum through, and you might hear some notes that sound like this, a little muted or a little buzzed. What that is that's you're just not pushing hard enough. So you can't see it as well through the camera, but I'm just pushing a lot harder than what I think I have to. It's also good to note that you want to play as close to the fret, so this is the 2nd fret right here. You want to play as close to the fret as possible without actually touching it. So again, it doesn't necessarily, there you go, you can kind of see it. My finger is right up to the fret, however it's not quite touching it. That'll give you the best tone quality. If your finger's back a little further though, it still works. You just don't quite get as clear of a tone. So you want to be as close as possible if you can without touching it, because if you actually touch or you push over on the string, it can buzz or sound muted, especially if I'm too far over like that. Now, so on something like the D, it might be helpful to scoot your hands back so that your finger can go out like that, back in. Whatever is easiest for you then. Right now, we are not exactly concerned with how our hand is. I'll cover that in a later video. So that's D. And then the last, well, the last chord that we're going to learn, well, no, we'll probably learn one more. So anyway, I'm sorry. It's, we got an E minor, okay? So this one is probably, I don't know if you guys have picked up the guitar before or not, but this is probably one of the first chords that you learned, if not the first chord that you learned. So we're going to take our middle 2 fingers, our 2nd and our 3rd finger, and we're going to put our 2nd finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret. And we're going to take our 3rd finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Okay, so it's just going to be these two. Now you're going to play everything. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I just listed all of the string numbers there. We're going to play all of the strings for this one. As you can see, it gives you that nice, very open, very nice, open sounding Hispanic sort of flair. Or maybe a Western, you know, right before a duel or something. Excuse me. Anyway, so then the next chord, and probably the last chord this time actually for real, is an A minor. Now what we do there is we are going to play the open A string, which is your 5th string. And we're going to take that, and then now we're going to take our 2nd finger and put it on the 2nd fret of your 4th string. Okay? 2nd fret of your 4th string. We're going to take our 3rd finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. So at this point, it looks exactly like an E minor, except an E minor is two strings down, or in this case up, down in pitch, right? Because the strings get thicker, they get more bassy, they get lower. So down in pitch, but up in relation to the sky, the horizon, whatever. So anyway, so you have your E minor, and if you move those each one string up, which is really down, okay, then we get this so far. We're going to take our first finger and put it on the first fret of the second string. Okay, and then we're going to play the last, or the first string, just open. Now, what that sounds like, minor. The difference between major and minor is sometimes described as happy for major and sad for minor. And while that's true, it's a very useful tool when you're first learning it. However, it does not mean that minor cannot be happy or major cannot be used in like a sad context or whatever. So they're kind of inexchangeable, but that's kind of just the very general thing that's thrown out and projected on the people. So anyway, to go back over the chords that we learned today, we've got the first chord, which is G. You can play it like this or like this. Okay, then we played C. And then we have a D. We have our E minor. And lastly, we learned the A minor. And then I'll just finish off with a D, back to the G. Alright. So that's it for the chords today. So thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to practice, work on those chords, rewind the video if you have to. Well, please do just anyway to make sure that you're getting the correct fingers for each fret and for each string so that you can successfully play each chord. Thanks for joining me. This is Jeremy at Guitar Better.